Your extended forecast.
A good Wednesday morning to you. Severe thunderstorms are pounding parts of the Great Lakes region, and right now several warnings are out for southern Wisconsin. We'll have an update on that situation coming up in just a few moments. But first of all, the very latest regarding the tropics. Of course, we're still keeping close tabs on tropical depression Chantal. That's right, Chantal continues to weaken, and right now merely a tropical depression with maximum sustained winds of about 30 miles per hour. Chantal continues to work its way overland, right now still situated across the Yucatan Peninsula, but we do foresee that this tropical system, if it can remain intact, will eventually reemerge back over the open waters of the Gulf, so it's something that certainly bears some serious watching. Now, at this point, we still have some advisories out for parts of the Yucatan Peninsula and across the extreme southern Gulf of Mexico. Basically, across the Mexican shoreline here, we have some tropical storm watches and warnings in effect. So, at the very least, there could be still some squally conditions and some gusty winds across these regions. Here's the latest satellite picture now of Chantal. Not looking terribly impressive. In fact, it's getting very hard to ascertain the exact center of circulation. It's very poorly defined, although we do expect the center to be somewhere across the western Yucatan at this particular point. There continues to be some convection, too, especially on the east side of the center of circulation, so at least under this brighter shade of oranges and reds, we may see some very heavy downpours in some of these areas. Again, what's left of Chantal will continue to drift off to the west-northwest, and we do expect it to eventually reemerge back over the open waters, perhaps sometime later tonight through early tomorrow morning. And again, there is the potential that it may start to re-strengthen and re-intensify as it moves back over the open waters. So again, it's something that we really have to watch very, very closely. In the meantime, a little bit farther to the east, as we check out what's happening across the Caribbean, we're also watching what appears to be a tropical wave, perhaps some mid-level or low-level circulation in association with this wave. At any rate, this area of disturbed weather continues to press into the Lesser Antilles. We've had some thunderstorms breaking out around Barbuda on into Dominica. Some very heavy rains. In fact, with this particular tropical system, we'll have to watch that too for the potential for some development. Meanwhile, more clusters of showers and storms across the Atlantic basin at this time, but luckily nothing is showing any signs of organization. Pretty much the same story too throughout the eastern Pacific. And what's ironic, this is the peak of the hurricane season for the eastern Pacific, but right now not a whole lot to write home about. Elsewhere, though, we shift gears. We head up to the western Pacific, where we're still tracking Pabuk, which has brought some very heavy rain and some serious flooding to parts of Japan. Well, the first typhoon to hit Japan's main island in 2 years is now downgraded to a tropical storm. But it's still dumping heavy amounts of rain on the capital city of Tokyo, causing massive traffic delays. The slow-moving storm is blamed for 4 deaths. Outside of Tokyo, reports are coming in of massive flooding and landslides. People who did not follow evacuation orders are now stranded and need some rescuing. So it's been a really serious situation over parts of Japan. The good news, though, regarding Pabuk, it's continuing to weaken, and we're seeing this big trough of low pressure coming in out of Mongolia that will help to kick out this tropical system. So we think eventually this will start to accelerate and move off to the northeast and eventually move away from the Japanese islands. That's a look at what's happening throughout the tropics. Now let's head back to the States, and we're checking out the possibility for some really nasty thunderstorms today. So far, some of the worst weather conditions continue across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes area. We're seeing these bright white-top clouds. Well, that's indicative of the higher and the colder cloud tops, and it really oftentimes goes hand in hand with the more strong and the more intense thunderstorms. And indeed, we're seeing some really fierce ones flaring up this morning for Wisconsin, especially the southern part of the state. Numerous warnings are in effect right now, including Sheboygan on into Dodge and Washington counties. And some of the biggest concerns that we have with these thunderstorms, very gusty winds, perhaps winds gusting over 50 and 60 miles per hour. There is a possibility, too, for some large hail and certainly some very heavy, blinding downpours. So it's going to be a rough morning commute across the Great Lakes area as our storm system continues to trudge towards the east. Now, besides the Great Lakes area, though, there's also a chance for some really nasty thunderstorms, too, for the western high plains states and the central Rockies. Nothing just yet, but we're tracking another little disturbance working its way through the Rockies, and that will eventually spawn some heavy-duty showers and thunderstorms later this afternoon. So here's the forecast then for your Wednesday. One low-pressure area riding through the nation's midsection, heading up towards the Great Lakes area, will help to enhance your showers and storms. Most of the Northeast not looking too bad for a good part of today, but the trend will be for increasing clouds and certainly the chance for some scattered showers and storms, we think, from Buffalo through Pittsburgh back to the Ohio Valley later this afternoon. More active weather, too, across the Rockies later on today, and a lot of rain, some beneficial rains coming into the Pacific Northwest, perhaps an inch or more in some places. And now let's look down the road. Good morning. Flood advisories continue at this point for parts of Ohio, Wisconsin, and Michigan after some spots have picked up nearly 4 inches of rain. We'll have an update on the flooding and also an update on the prospects for severe weather coming up in just a few moments. But first of all, let's check out the tropics. Here's the latest information that we have regarding Tropical Depression Chantal. It has weakened considerably, and right now what's left of Chantal is just barely over the land areas right now. It's located roughly across the western fringes of the Yucatan Peninsula, and right now it is still packing winds of about 30 miles per hour, but it's a very weak system, a very poorly defined tropical system, and we do expect that as it continues to move to the west-northwest, that will maintain it over land, so it will more than likely dissipate over land a little bit later on for today. However, if it deviates somewhat from that course, there is a slight chance that it may reemerge back over the open waters, but probably a more than likely scenario is that it will continue to move to the west-southwest, and with that gradually dissipate over land a little bit later on for today. Something else of note, though, is that until the system totally does dissipate, there is still the possibility of perhaps some locally heavy rains for parts of Central America and parts of Mexico. And we're still seeing some areas of convection with some showers and storms out there. So until it's totally over and done with, there is the possibility of maybe 3 to 5 inches of additional rainfall for parts of Mexico and Central America until Chantal finally does dissipate. Now, from another satellite perspective, we are seeing again still some unsettled conditions for parts of Mexico, but probably an area of greater concern for the tropics is what's happening in the eastern Caribbean. We have a tropical wave located across the Lesser Antilles this morning, and with this tropical wave, there appears to be some type of circulation. So we're going to be watching this area very closely as it continues to approach Puerto Rico. Again, there is the possibility for further developments across the eastern Caribbean. Next, though, we head farther out toward the Atlantic Basin, and we're seeing a few more tropical waves working their way off of Africa and drifting towards the west. Right now, though, not showing any signs of organization. And what's really unusual is that typically for the eastern Pacific, this is the peak of the hurricane season. And right now, no tropical storms out there to mention, so still relatively quiet throughout the eastern Pacific. In the western Pacific, though, we are still tracking Pabuk, which at one point had been a super typhoon, but right now just a tropical storm. But this system has brought some very heavy flooding downpours to parts of Japan. We've had reports of at least 6 fatalities. Some serious flooding has been taking place around the Tokyo area. But now the good news, this tropical system is being picked up by a huge trough, and that will help to accelerate it off to the north and east, so it will eventually pull away from Japan, and as it does so, those heavy rains and the stiff winds will be subsiding as Pabuk finally pulls away from Japan. That's a look at the tropics. Now let's head back to the States. And we've got some rough weather gearing up for your Wednesday, especially some strong storms likely later on today for the Rockies, and more strong thunderstorms will likely pummel the Great Lakes area. Again, we've had some soaking downpours too with these showers and storms. There are still some flood advisories out for southern parts of Michigan, including Ottawa, Barrie, and Kent counties. We've had some flooding problems too and some severe weather around Warren County back in Ohio. So again, some very nasty thunderstorms out there. They're all sliding off to the east. And although it's still relatively quiet right now for Pittsburgh and Buffalo and Cleveland, it's just a matter of time before your weather too starts to go downhill as these showers and thunderstorms start to migrate towards the east. And for the west, here's something rather unusual: rain. And at least that rain today will help ease the wildfires across Washington state and easing the wildfires too for Oregon.
Sometimes you just need to brush. Big time. That's why there's Trident gum. Chewing Trident after eating helps fight cavities. Can't brush? Chew on this.
Are you struggling to hear on your cell phone? Are you sick of losing those important calls? Then try the internal antenna by Rhino International, the amazing new discovery that actually reduces static and increases reception on your cell phone, so you'll hear better. Simply place the internal antenna under your battery, and presto, it's like adding a 4-foot antenna to your phone.
And your health on Atmosphere. People who claim sixth senses forecast immense weather changes. See how these human barometers measure the elements on Atmospheres. Tonight at 8 on the Weather Channel.
Honey, are you there? I'm really sorry. Please pick up. Sweetie, it was an honest mistake, really. I feel awful. I love you. Pick up. Look, baby, I'll buy you another stupid cat, all right? I mean, the thing was old anyway.
With so many movies, there's always one that fits your attitude. Comcast Digital Cable. Your life connected.
Hello. I'm asking you to help me enforce a very important law.
Megan's Law is meant to protect our children and communities from sexual predators. Community groups that care for women and children may receive notice of sexual offenders in the area. But to receive notification, the group must first register with my office. Please call our Megan's Law unit at 989-6571.
Help us protect our children. Please reach out and register.
Thanks.
Now it's time for your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently, the temperature is 83 degrees under fair skies. Forecast for your area. Expect fair skies Friday through Sunday with temperatures in the 80s on Friday.
Welcome to Storm Watch. I'm Nick Walker. We do have some stormy weather, some severe weather throughout the Midwestern United States. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, we want to get an update on our new tropical storm. Here's our tropical weather expert, Dr. Steve Lyons.
Thanks, Nick. And as we shift away from our Chantal, we're looking now at Dean. Let me show you the latest satellite image. The two features of interest, one is Chantal, this low pressure area down here spinning around. The only remnants left of it are showers over the Yucatan, so watch out if you're down there and it's already in a fairly flooded area. There's still some showers coming in. But the other feature is our new one, that's Tropical Storm Dean. Reconnaissance out there finding 60-mile-per-hour winds on the north side of the circulation. Those winds are not affecting the islands currently, which is good news, but the rain is. And some gusty winds. Here's the latest from the Hurricane Center. Winds 60 miles per hour moving to the west-northwest at 23 miles per hour. That's good news. It's very quick, so the amount of rain that's going to fall over the islands is going to be minimized with that type of speed of motion. It's currently north-northwest of Puerto Rico. Now, when we look at the satellite image here, circulation center is up in here. All the strong winds are up in this area and also in a band of showers that moved through St. Thomas, which is right here, and St. Croix about 2 hours ago. The winds there are still gusting to about 25 to 30 miles per hour, but you're pretty much done with the system there other than some lingering showers. Now that band is moving toward Puerto Rico. Currently, the wind in San Juan is west at only about 5 to 10 miles per hour, but you're going to pick up out of the southeast very shortly, and the rain is going to commence. We don't expect anything major to happen there other than the potential for some flash flooding. You can see some showers already developing on the south side of the island as this southeast wind comes in here at about 20 to 30 miles per hour. So watch out if you're in a low-lying area tonight. Gusty winds, especially over higher elevations, and very, very heavy rain, especially over the mountains. The circulation center we expect to continue on the west-northwest and then turn to the north. But in the meantime, we do expect the trough along the east coast of the United States to keep it well offshore from the United States at this time. Let's get back to Nick in the studio now.
All right, thanks for that update, Dr. Lyons. Let's look around the United States now and see where the severe weather is and where we expect it to be. We're talking about severe weather here through the Midwest. More expected to be produced back out into the plains as we get through the evening hours. Here are the watches, and they include Chicago. They also include Detroit, not quite Indianapolis, but another watch back here in Kansas for the western portion, and that includes portions of Colorado and also Nebraska. We have some strong storms moving towards Chicago right now. No current warnings on them, but Chicago, you'll continue to see the threat of a lot of heavy rain, perhaps some gusty winds out of these too. Knox County back here does have a warning right now for severe weather. Also a tornado warning on this storm cell right here, this monster cell just toward the northeast of Fort Wayne. That's eastern Allen County. 2 inches.
Is the Lowe's Coronado Bay Resort, which features 40,000 square feet of courtyards and terraces. San Diego's most upscale community, La Jolla, lies to the north. La Jolla means the jewel in Spanish, an appropriate name for what many consider to be the Monte Carlo of California. Residents have long been proud of the village's swanky shops and million-dollar hillside homes. But the true jewel is the area's underwater ecological reserve. Scuba divers and snorkelers alike photograph the park's protected marine life. Whether you're catching a breeze on the sunny Pacific or enjoying Point Loma's 60-foot-high sunset cliffs, you're sure to enjoy San Diego's pristine beauty, cultural richness, and near-perfect climate.
If you would like to learn more about this destination or other great vacation locations, we have the website for you. Log on to weather.com/atmospheres or America Online keyword weather. There you can find out even more facts about San Diego and its weather. Plus, you can get the current weather of any city in the United States and many international locations. So log on.
We just heard how nice the weather can be in San Diego, California. Hopefully it's just as nice where you are. Let's find out. Let's go for a live update into the forecast center.
Look around the U.S., a little bit stormy in the Midwest and still wet for the Pacific Northwest. In the Northeast, not much yet, but it will get a little more active. Could see the chance of some severe weather kicking overnight in parts of Ohio. Also bits of Kansas, also a portion of Oklahoma, too, might be in for some stormy conditions. Now, the most imminent concern is where we have a severe thunderstorm watch, a bit of Indiana across Illinois and also a bit to the north of St. Louis. Again, severe thunderstorm watches mean the conditions are favorable for severe weather in and around these watch areas. Still a few storms of note now. Chicago, we're okay. Most everything has moved on well to our south, but still some storms of note coming in toward Indianapolis along with this line. May see some gusty winds, also the chance of some small hail as this approaches. In toward St. Louis, not much yet, but there is the chance some stormier conditions might slide a bit further to the south and affect us as well. Flash flood potential, that's here already with a heavy soaking rain. That can cause a few problems, especially if you live in a flood-prone area. You want to keep your eye toward rising water. Be prepared to get to high ground if the situation might indeed warrant doing just that. Across the Midwest, we talked about the rain, but a few showers off and on coming our way in toward Pittsburgh. A little bit in toward Erie, even Buffalo could see some storms overnight. Southern U.S., fairly quiet. A few showers in parts of South Florida, even into a bit of Texas, mostly in the north part of Texas here, but north of Abilene, a few storms kicking through. And throughout the western U.S., some showers in parts of Colorado. But our rain continues, some of it in some areas that really need it, given the great fire danger in Washington and Oregon. Still a bit wet for Seattle and in toward Portland. Let's look at the big picture of everything coast to coast. Let's get to the forecast now for the morning. A few showers and storms continue along this front. In toward Pittsburgh, for example, could see a wet commute. Indianapolis could be wet still. Evansville, St. Louis, Kansas City, New York City, Boston, Hartford, and Providence as well. Here's a look at where some of the rainfall could be heavy. North of St. Louis, more than 3 inches. And here's a look at where the heat might be a little bit heavy, too, mostly in the southwest. On the way on the Weather Channel, we'll talk more of the active weather with Weather Center and some details on Tropical Storm Dean. That is coming up in Weather Center on the way.
Well, now that you've had time to ponder the correct answer to when was that weather, here it is. The flash flood that hit Shadyside, Ohio, occurred in 1990. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you tonight, but thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. Your local forecast is coming right up, as well as Weather Center at the top of the hour. For all of us here at the Weather Channel, have a great week, everybody.
Oh, this is it.
In person.
Okay, let's roll down.
Sure we have the right place?
Yes, I sure have the right place.
Wait, I hear something.
That's it, let's go.
There are some things in life you just don't want to miss, like the Lexus Golden Opportunity.